The restaurant was warm and softly lit, the kind of place where quiet conversations blended with the faint sound of clinking glasses. Daniel sat at a small table near the window, adjusting his sleeves for the third time as he checked the time on his phone. He wasn't used to this. Blind dates felt unfamiliar, almost out of place in his carefully structured life. Most of his days revolved around early mornings with his son, long hours at the office and late nights, trying to keep everything together. This evening was different, and he wasn't sure if that made him hopeful or uneasy. A waiter passed by offering a polite smile, and Daniel returned it absent-mindedly. His thoughts drifted to his son, whom he had left with a neighbor for the night. He wondered if he was doing the right thing by being here. His friend had insisted, saying he deserved a chance to meet someone, to have a life beyond responsibilities. Still, doubt lingered in the back of his mind. Then he saw her. Claire walked in with a calm confidence, scanning the room before her eyes met his. She smiled, and something about it immediately put him at ease. As she approached, Daniel stood up quickly, almost knocking his chair back in the process. They both laughed softly, breaking the initial tension. She introduced herself, her voice warm and genuine, and within moments, the conversation began to flow more naturally than he had expected. They talked about simple things at first. Work, the city, favorite places to relax. Daniel found himself opening up little by little, surprised at how comfortable he felt. Claire listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions, never rushing him for the first time in a long while. Daniel felt like he wasn't just surviving his days. He was actually present in one. Just as he began to relax completely, a familiar voice cut through the moment. Daniel, his body stiffened instantly. He didn't need to turn around to recognize that voice. Slowly, he looked up, and there stood Mr. Reynolds, his boss, sharp suit, serious expression, and the same commanding presence that made the entire office tense. On a daily basis, Daniel's mind raced. What was he doing here, and more importantly, why was he standing at their table? Before Daniel could say anything, Mr. Reynolds pulled out a chair and sat down, as if he belonged there. The ease of the action made it even more unsettling. Claire remained calm, her expression unreadable. While Daniel felt his carefully built sense of comfort begin to slip away, the relaxed atmosphere was gone, replaced by confusion in a growing sense that this evening was about to take a very unexpected turn. Daniel's mind struggled to catch up with what was happening. The presence of Mr. Reynolds at the table had already unsettled him, but the calm exchange of glances between Claire and his boss made it even more confusing. He looked from one to the other, searching for some explanation, but neither spoke for a brief moment. The silence stretched just enough to make his thoughts spiral. Had he done something wrong at work? Was this some kind of test? Or worse, was his personal life somehow being judged now too? Claire finally broke the tension with a soft laugh, her tone gentle but reassuring. Okay, this is probably the strangest way to start a date, she admitted, glancing at Daniel with an apologetic smile. But I think we owe you an explanation. Daniel leaned back slightly, still trying to process everything, his eyes now fixed on Mr. Reynolds, who looked very different from the man he saw every day in the office. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat, his usual sharp demeanor replaced with something more measured. Almost hesitant, Daniel. I know this seems inappropriate. He began choosing his words carefully. But this wasn't meant to make you uncomfortable. He paused briefly as if unused to explaining himself, then continued, Claire is my sister. The words landed heavily, but not in the way Daniel expected. He blinked, trying to connect the pieces. Claire smiled again, nodding slightly to confirm it. Your friend didn't set this up alone, she added. My brother may have helped. Daniel exhaled slowly, some of the tension leaving his shoulders, though confusion still lingered. You set me up, he asked, looking directly at Mr. Reynolds. Unable to hide his surprise, Mr. Reynolds gave a small nod. I've watched you at work, he said, his voice steady. Now you're consistent, reliable. And you never make excuses, even when I know you have more on your plate than most. His expression softened slightly, balancing your job and raising your son alone. It says a lot about who you are. Daniel didn't know what to say. This wasn't the cold, distant boss he had grown used to. There was a level of honesty here that caught him off guard. I'm not good at saying things like this in the office, Mr. Reynolds continued. So I thought maybe this was a better way. He gestured lightly toward Claire. You deserve more than just work and responsibility. Claire leaned forward slightly, her voice warm and for the record. She said I agreed because I wanted to meet someone genuine, not just because he's my brother. A quiet smile finally appeared on Daniel's face, the tension fading completely. What had started as an uncomfortable interruption now felt unexpectedly sincere. For the first time that evening, he wasn't thinking about work or pressure or expectations. He was simply there sharing a moment that felt real, and as the conversation slowly picked up again, this time without confusion, Daniel realized that sometimes the most unexpected situations could lead to something meaningful, something he hadn't allowed himself to hope for in a long time.